Right. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. As always, Sal Maiorana from the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. St. John Fisher College, or University, I should say, over in Pittsford. And this is the last time you'll be coming to us, Sal, from their last day of camp today. So at least the Rochester portion of the preseason. Another year in the books.
Yes, my last broadcast here from my luxurious dorm room at Dorsey Hall at St. John Fisher, which it's been great. It's always great having camp here. I love the fact that it's 20 minutes from my house, but they do such a great job at Fisher all the way around. We have really good accommodations to work. The access is good. The fans are great. So, yeah, there's nothing bad to say about the Fisher portion. It rained here 15 minutes in the 2 weeks that the Bills were here. Not great for my lawn at home, which is brown, but the weather was perfect. A little bit hot, but absolutely perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard Sean McDermott allude to all of that, and we'll talk about it if we have time here before the end of the podcast, but it does not seem as if the Bills are going anywhere in terms of camp. This has been a long-term relationship, and there's every indication that it is going to appear to continue that way. All right. Let's get to the news and James Cook update. That's kind of the James Cook watch now into his, fourth practice that he's held in. Any indication based on anything you've heard, and I know I think I know the answer to this, but what's your sense of where this might be going and where it might not, if you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about his leverage right along, and it would just be completely stupid and idiotic if he were to extend this thing into the regular season and start losing game checks. And I really don't think that's going to happen. Now, it's still up for debate whether they're going to come to a deal or not. I don't know if we probably didn't talk since Kyron Williams of the Rams signed his deal. I think we recorded before that happened. So that kind of gives the Bills and Cook's agent, as much as he probably doesn't like it, a bit of a roadmap to get Cook's contract done. He signed 3 years, $33 million, $23 million guaranteed. And Kyron Williams drafted the same year as James Cook, but later. He was fifth round, I think. Cook a second round. But he's had better numbers in his career. And, of course, part of that is because the Rams use him all the time. He's a three-down back. His yards and touchdowns he's got more yards gained. He's got just a few less touchdowns than James Cook, because he gets more snaps. This is part of why the Bills don't want to go with that big contract, because Cook does not, and it's their doing, it's the Bills doing that they don't put him on the field, on third downs, and they rotate backs in a little bit. But Kyron Williams' deal should be, like I said, the roadmap to get James Cook done. It's in the fourth day of the hold-in. Obviously, he's not going to play Saturday. Adam, if anything's going to happen here, it's going to have to start happening, I would think, early part of next week, because I can't imagine Cook wants to keep sitting out. His teammates want him back. Obviously, McDermott wants him back. And I don't know how much more the Bills are going to budge on this. They need to get it done, because both sides need to get a win here. There's got to be a way to do that.
Right. For this to continue in any significant way or whatever. I mean, James Cook is really only hurting himself. When it comes down to that. And I was interested.
He's also hurting his teammates, the Bills, too.
Right. And you got a sense of that when McDermott was asked about it this morning. He's company line. I expect him to be on the field. And when he said that, I'm like, well, he's just, because that's what he has to say.
Well, expecting him to be on the field and he will be on the field is two vastly different things. Now, I will say this. McDermott did point out that he's been in all the meetings. He's been at the afternoon walkthroughs, which we don't see over here. So he is still technically participating in things, keeping in touch. But, and I can see his point here. He's not practicing. Not only is he making a point, but he doesn't want to get hurt. He's protecting himself from getting hurt, because if he gets hurt, that could mean, depending on what happened, that's a big deal. So I understand that part of it for sure. But it was good to hear McDermott say that he still is involved with the other things that are going on over here.
Well, the expectations surrounding this team have never been higher. We've argued that this is the best roster they've had in the Sean McDermott, Josh Allen era. There's a lot that speaks to that. FanDuel has the over-under on the Bills win total this year at 11.5. I think they easily could go north of that. And the biggest reason behind that is obviously the guy they have at quarterback in Josh Allen, number 17. And not so surprisingly, when asked about it today in terms of the preseason opener Saturday against the Giants, Sean McDermott said that Allen will not play in that game. But the rest of the starters expected to go maybe a quarter and then kind of see how it goes from there. So kind of, I suppose, sticking to the script, what you'd expect at this point from Sean.
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh played in the preseason opener last year, and then he was supposed to play the second game, but it rained in Pittsburgh, and they kept him off, and then he didn't play in the third. So, yeah, look, I mean, he doesn't need to play in any of these preseason games. This guy's an eighth-year veteran. He's the league MVP. All the work he's getting in these practices is more than enough, so I wouldn't even put him out there. And quite frankly, Adam, last year, backup quarterback was Trubisky. There was really no competition. This year, there's a competition. Mike White is firmly entrenched in a battle with Trubisky. They got to figure out which guy it's going to be. So they should really be getting the bulk of the snaps throughout these three games and then throw Shane Buechele in at the end. I think Buechele is probably going to be the practice squad quarterback because he makes less money than both White or Trubisky. I don't think they're going to keep both of those guys. So they got to figure out between Trubisky and White who's going to back up Allen. Use these games. That's the true proving ground. It's not so much practice out here. Go play when the bullets are flying live. So that's what I think we'll see with this team.
Yeah, and McDermott did confirm that Trubisky would, in fact, start in this game. And one more point on that. I thought it interesting that that Sean said that some of it depends upon how Josh feels. If they obviously, and this would come as no surprise, but it's an interesting dynamic that they listen to Josh. If he feels he needs to be in there or wants work, I mean, I think we've seen this before in years past, that they'll factor Allen's feelings very much into that decision as to whether or not he sees the field at all.
Yeah, and even saying that, though, Adam, I think McDermott is going to have the final call here, and I don't think he wants to risk him at any point in these preseason games. Don't forget, too, they do have the Bears joint practice, and he will get some good work because that'll be, hands off the quarterback in those sessions. So I think he'll get some good work against the Bears whenever that's August 15th. They're going to do that. That'll kind of be like his preseason game. And it was the same thing last year in Pittsburgh. He got some good work against the Steelers, didn't play in the game. I think we'll see the same thing when they go to Chicago next week.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. I wouldn't let Allen anywhere near the field in a preseason game at this stage. So that certainly makes sense. All right, couple of updates. McDermott was asked about Khalil Shakir and his status with the high ankle sprain, and that there's every expectation that he would be back for the start of the regular season, knowing that type of injury and that it can be tricky to come back from, that sort of a thing. And McDermott alluded to the fact that the missed time doesn't necessarily concern him as much as it would another player because of the established chemistry. I mean, if there's a player that Allen is on the same page with, Khalil Shakir would be right at the top of that list. It speaks to what they've invested in this offense and the experience and the results with those two.
Yeah, you're right. Shakir is the one guy that the Bills can certainly survive not having at practice during the summer here. He'll be able to jump right back into it. It is a high ankle sprain. Those are tricky. He hurt it last week. So week one, we're about 5 weeks away, I think, if my math is correct, from week one. So that injury typically takes 4, 5, 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So he'll be right on the edge of it. But McDermott said today that Nate Bresky, the head trainer, said that, week one is looking pretty good, assuming there's no setback. So, I would keep him in bubble wrap until that week of practice for the Ravens and not risk anything. Because, those high ankles, that's the kind of injury we say they'll be back in 4 or 5 weeks. But that's the kind of thing that lingers all season long. And one little tweak could be a 1 or 2 week setback. I would play it really safe with him.
Switching gears, other side of the ball now. Taylor Rapp, safety position so much of a focus. Taylor Rapp with a knee going to be out for a week. So the outlook's a little bit different, obviously, than what it is for Shakir. But what is different is that they're trying, the Hyde-Poyer chemistry that McDermott referred to. They're trying to establish that at the safety position. And McDermott did express some concern that that particular injury and how it's gone there would affect what they're trying to get going there.
Yeah, safety is a concern now because, we've seen this with Taylor Rapp. This is his third year with the team, and he's never had a serious injury that's knocked him out for a big amount of time, but he always seems to have a nagging injury. He's missed games in each of his first 2 seasons, and now here we are again dealing with another injury. This is a knee injury, and they say he'll be back in about a week. Who knows? I mean, it's a knee injury. We'll see. So that's a problem. And then Cole Bishop, we've already discussed this. This is the second year in a row where his training camp was cut short. Last year it was cut shorter because he got hurt really early. He's only been hurt now for 3 or 4 practices, but still, these are valuable reps that he's missing. And yeah, they've got for McDermott to say that about, because he's still living off that Poyer Hyde,
right?
The safety net that they had for 7 years, and they're still trying to build that. DeMar Hamlin has played a role, and he's done a good job for who he is, right? I mean, he probably shouldn't be starting, but that may end up being the case if these guys can't get back. So it's good that they re-signed him because he's the one guy that has knowledge of the defense. But they got to get Rapp and Bishop back together because that safety position, as we've seen in McDermott's defense, they need to be on the same page. And right now they're not on the same page because they haven't worked enough together.
Looking ahead to a Saturday now against the Giants in terms of what you might be looking for, you've already alluded to the backup quarterback battle and that sort of a thing. And I think the situation on defense with the changes they've made and what they're trying to upgrade there and everything, I think we begin to maybe get a sense of who might have the edge or what effectiveness there might be based on who is in there. And then the receiver position, particularly as you move down the depth chart, trying to get a sense of where things stand there. I mean, those are 2 areas that I'll be focused on, I think, in watching that game. You've had the advantage, and obviously you've been there watching all of the work that's been done. Where will your eyes be when they take the field Saturday?
Yeah, receiver is a big one because we can all say that they've got the top 5 probably figured out, and I'm including Curtis Samuel in that only because of his contract, because he didn't even – I think he might have been out here the first 1 or 2 sessions, and he's been sidelined ever since. He got hurt last training camp. That kind of ruined his entire season. So, I mean, that free agent signing, Adam, has been a complete bust for the Bills. I mean, he made a couple plays late in the year last season, but that's been a bust for them. And like I said, his contract, it would be difficult to move on from him because they would have to eat. I'm not sure what the number is, but it's a pretty good, number that they're not going to want to, have to swallow. So I'm assuming he's got a spot locked up. And I think Elijah Moore should have a spot locked up. That's 5 that they're going to keep when you've got Coleman, Shakir, and I'm blanking on the 5th guy because I don't have it in front of me. Who am I blanking on? Keon Coleman, Khalil Sugar Palmer. Right. So there's your 5. They typically have kept 5 for the regular season. That's leaving a lot of players that have really shown up here at training camp. Tyrell Shaver's number 1 on that list, and he was with them on the practice squad, got activated a couple times last year. Jalen Virgil, he was active for 7 games last year, which surprised me when I looked back on that. Deion Kane has come back. And Adam, I'm telling you, I mean, he's playing with the 3rd team. Dude is making plays all over the place. And he's a veteran. He's been around the NFL. He just played in the UFL recently. So there's a guy who's got some experience. Maybe you want to keep him around, at least practice squad. This kid, Steven Gosnell, undrafted free agent. Now, I mean, he's one of those training camp darlings. But if they were keeping stats at him, he's leading the team in receptions because he's like Chris Hogan, 7-11. The guy's always open. So I'm going to be watching that position. And again, it probably won't be, unless they start somebody on the injured reserve list early, it's probably not going to be for a 53-man roster spot. But they're going to be filling their practice squad with some very capable guys. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
All right. Certainly, again, Saturday, 1 o'clock, Bills-Giants preseason opener. Let's get to some off-of-the-field stuff before we wrap up here. Did you have the opportunity to watch the first episode of Hard Knocks?
I did. I watched it live Tuesday, and then my wife was out. She missed it, so she insisted that I had to rewatch it with her last night. So I sat through it again. It was good. I mean, it was exactly kind of what I expected. They're setting some storylines up, right? I'm sure we're going to see more from Dawson Knox, who they kind of previewed early. I forget who. They already covered Trey White, Dawson Knox, or I said Knox. I'm thinking Dwayne Carter might get some run in this next couple episodes. James Cook will be a big part of episode 2 because they stopped filming. I'm pretty sure they stopped filming after the blue and red last week, and Cook began his hold-in Sunday. So I'm guessing that'll be a big part of the next episode. Look, it was a lot of fluff, right? Josh Allen was the star of the show. It was fine. It was fun to see some of the shots they had out here. I like those aerial views of Fisher. The ones of Buffalo and Rochester looked great. So, yeah, it was superficial. It wasn't real deep. I also think the Bills have a part of that, Adam.
Right.
Because they do have some editorial control, and you didn't see a whole lot of controversial stuff or criticism. I think they're putting a mute button on some of that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, from their perspective, because that was a concern the minute it was announced and the decision was made that they were going to be featured on Hard Knocks. That goes right against Sean McDermott's grain and what they try and establish and kind of keep things under wraps and behind closed doors. But it feels like they've managed that from their standpoint fairly well through the course of this camp.
And I told you before we saw it that it would be fun even for us in the media because they obviously have access that we don't get, going into the dorms and all that, some of the behind the scenes stuff. So there wasn't a whole lot of that in the first episode. I'm hoping there'll be more in the second. And then when they get back to Buffalo, that'll be interesting because the Bills probably have even more control on their own property. Fisher is, it's a public place. So I'll be curious to see how much access they get over at the stadium. But yeah, it was a good first episode. The Deion stuff cracked us up. We were talking about it here. How, man, if I had a little kid, 4-year-old kid, would I want to strap him into a basically a race car and do that?
No.
That was a little bit. My wife was like, I can't believe that he's doing that with his kid. That was a little surprising. I could see him doing that by himself, but that kind of popped off the page a little bit for us.
I like the Trade Day Sunday. That was good, and now it's on the menu there at a steep price.
Yeah, I'm not sure that fans are going to want to be paying $12.95 for a chocolate chip cookie with a little bit of ice cream on it. I know I wouldn't, but hey, to each his own, right?
But it's nice to see the Pittsford Dairy get some run. My wife and I were there last week welcoming back some Empire State riders in that New York City to Niagara Falls, Roswell Park run over in Weedsport, and we stopped for lunch near the dairy there along the canal and then, went for dessert there. And, it's a special place for a lot of people, and it's nice to see the area get some pub, nationally. Yeah. So I love that, and I like the Josh Allen Stadium tour thing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was very good. I haven't been inside the stadium, and I almost had an opportunity. It just didn't work out. I kind of wanted to do that, but I didn't get the chance. But it was cool for them to take us inside. And I liked having Josh and Pagula. That was another thing that we were talking about out here. The guys that we were surprised Pagula was, he's a mute. Normally nobody hears from him, and here he was. They got him with McDermott, just kind of shooting the bull, and then over at the stadium. So that was interesting to see too.
Okay, so just before we wrap it up here, an article that you'd written recently, and I don't know that you necessarily have an update on this, but it bears repeating as you wrap it up there from St. John Fisher. There's been a lot of speculation, and based on the trends in the National Football League, where with these upgraded team facilities at home, that the need to sort of go away it isn't necessarily there, but when I said there's every indication it's going to continue, you had reported in an exclusive interview that the Bills and Fisher are close to a long-term deal here to keep camp right there. We've all heard McDermott and Bean speak so highly of the place, and it's been a very effective campground for the Bills over the years in terms of setting the stage for the season.
Yeah, I mean, McDermott and Bean have gone on record time and time again saying they love it. The quarterback loves coming here. You saw it in Hard Knocks. He said this is the best time for the team to come together, camaraderie. They're here all day and all night together. They really get a lot out of it. The Bills are going to keep coming back to Fisher. The question is it going to be a long-term deal? Quite frankly, Adam, I don't think it matters. I mean, since COVID, they've been working on, they skipped the 2 years, 20 and 21, but because of COVID, but they're working on 1-year deals every year. I had talked to Pete before they got here, and he said they definitely want to get hooked up for a multi-year contract. I happened to talk to him today coming off the field. Any progress? And he said, no, but it's because we were here. We're in camp. We're going to get back to talking about it. So they're not going anywhere. As long as Bean and McDermott are in charge in Buffalo, the Bills are going to keep coming to Fisher. And, yeah, whether it's a 1-year deal or a 5-year deal, I'm almost can guarantee you they're going to keep coming back here year after year. And why wouldn't they? It's a perfect spot for them.
All right. You're absolutely right. Great job as always, Sal. Great job from there. And we will talk to you Saturday from Orchard Park after the game. Bills Giants.
Back at it. Hard to believe we're back at it.
1 o'clock. All right. That is going to do it for Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel. I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV, Sports Talk Live Buffalo. He is Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Thanks so much for being with us.